Hi, this is Kylie with Fem and Flow. I hope everyone's having a great day. Today, I want to talk about the divine feminine and the divine masculine and how these are energies that individuals should have a balance of. When I talk about the divine feminine versus the divine masculine, I'm not talking about genders. I've mentioned this in other episodes, but each one of us has both divine feminine and divine masculine energies, and we are in balance and harmony. And it's ideal when we are balanced between this feminine and masculine energy. When we are balanced, that's when we have the ideal perspective and the right approach to life. We all have mind, body, and spirit, which is the Holy Trinity. Mind is your consciousness, spirit is your soul, and our body is the vessel that carries these energies and projects ourself into this reality. Our body is the sacred tool we use to fully connect to our consciousness and our soul. Our body needs to be healthy to properly integrate energy and not only react to the outside reality, but create it. I go on in other episodes about the quantum physics behind how we create our own reality. So if you're interested in that, go listen to my other episodes. But after listening to that, you'll understand how our bodies are so important and sacred. We need to treat them like the sacred vessels they are. And also in other episodes, I talk a lot about health and how we can keep our body healthy and functioning and how we can do things to pull in 1 through 9 dimensional energies. And these energies actually help our body to be healthy. Our bodies are our tool and our vessel in this life and this reality. Our consciousness and our soul are eternal, but this body is not. We need to understand the importance of this body when it comes to interacting with and creating our reality, and treat it with the utmost importance. We need to give our body so much love and so much care. And if you have a negative relationship or a negative viewpoint on your body, separate yourself, your consciousness, and your soul from your body. And instead of innately just combining your personality, your soul with your body, view it as a temporary helper or as a friend, and view it as a friend that is the reason you can do what you do in this reality. Separate from your body for a moment and think, would I treat my friend like I treat my body? Would I speak or think negatively about a friend like I speak or think about my body? Really think about that and be honest with yourself. You are not your body. You are your soul and your consciousness, but you're just using this body and it's temporary. I feel like thinking about it that way might help people who view their body negatively. Stop and send your body gratitude and love. Send love and gratitude to every cell of your body. Do this daily or even multiple times a day, whenever it comes to mind. If you do this, I really think you'll see massive change. And don't listen to the world when they tell you to dislike or find flaws in yourself. They want to create a problem so they can sell you a temporary solution. Not only do they create the problem and then try and sell us temporary solutions like makeup, weight loss pills, etc., but hating your own body creates disease. And we all know the corruption of the pharmaceutical industry. I'm telling you, everything is connected. But back to the Holy Trinity, the mind, body, and the spirit. All of these aspects have unique balances of energies, and it's ideal for each of these to be a balance between the divine feminine and the divine masculine. But this is different than gender, like I mentioned before. Your mind or your consciousness and your spirit or your soul, they are extremely linked. Your soul is your pure energy, who you are down to the core. Your soul is your true essence. And your soul is an amalgamation of all your experience through eternity. You can have a young body in this reality, but have a soul that is wise beyond earth years. This is what people call old souls, and this is definitely real. Then your consciousness is what uses the wisdom and information stored in your soul to move through this reality. Your consciousness perceives, sends info to your soul, and also pulls info from your soul to make decisions and thoughts from. For most of this, when I talk about the divine masculine and feminine energies, I'm focusing on them when it comes to our consciousness and our soul. Our soul is innately balanced when it comes to the divine feminine and masculine energies. It's our consciousness we need to work to balance so we're pulling the right information from the soul information bank, and so we have perspectives that are in harmony and balance. If you aren't in balance with your divine feminine and masculine energies, you could mistakenly be pulling and having perspective through the ego version of yourself. Your ego version of self can get caught up in lower frequency energies created from trauma and insecurities. These lower frequency energies often prevent you from having a higher perspective that transcends the self of this reality. That ego self that doesn't transcend, that just stays stuck in what you are in this reality, it really focuses on what's happening to you only. Anytime we're only focusing on our own perspective and our own ego, it's very harmful. So think of the Holy Trinity this way. View a triangle or draw a triangle with 2 points at the bottom and 1 point at the top. The 2 points at the bottom is your body and your soul. And then the top point is your consciousness. If we're thinking about it from an ego perspective, your perspective is in the middle of the triangle and looking down on your soul and your body, which at some point your ego version might not even realize there's a soul. They might just see the body. And then from there, your perception expands and you move from an egocentric view to a higher self view, which is more in line with pure consciousness. So that's when your perception moves from the middle of the triangle, which is ego, to the top of the triangle, which is consciousness. And when you're aligned with pure consciousness, you realize all is connected, all is one, we are all energy, and you have more empathy and compassion because you have this heightened perspective. You also realize ultimately we're all consciousness that comes from the divine mind or the great mystery. You also realize that everyone's doing the best they can, and everyone is born into this life with different families, different situations, different scenarios, and people go through a lot of different trauma in this experience. This is not an easy place to be. And a lot of the time, people take their own traumas and shadows and cast them onto others. Both what you like and what you dislike in others is actually a reflection of yourself. Sometimes I'll be around someone, and even though we don't know each other very well, they might be very flattering or very, very nice and very complimentary. And I kind of laugh inside. I'm like, they're so sweet, but they actually don't know me. And I know they're just seeing what is beautiful and bright and light in them. They're just seeing it reflected in me. And that's reflecting back to them. But they're actually seeing their own light and their own beauty. So it goes both ways, both positive and negative. But if someone is attacking you, just keep this in mind and let it roll off your back because it's truly not a reflection of you and it doesn't have much to do with you. And also, when you view things from this way, you stop being offended by anything because you realize everyone's going through their own stuff and dealing with their own insecurities, own traumas, own shadows. And you just stop letting it affect you because you have this different perspective and higher viewpoint, and you're viewing it from that consciousness level instead of getting caught up in your ego. And when you move from your perception in the middle of that triangle, which is your ego, and you move to the consciousness level, your opinion and viewpoint will completely change. Instead of looking at someone and thinking it's me versus them, or what they did wrong, or how they hurt me, instead of seeing it on an ego level, you see others in a different light. If someone's hurting you, you might realize, okay, this is trauma that they've gone through. You can see it might stem from how someone was raised. All of these issues that used to offend your ego and put you at odds, you actually have a lot more empathy and compassion, and somehow you just see through what people are going through, and you won't necessarily get offended or mad. You just suddenly can see. And that's where we want to be. We want to have a higher self perspective and not be caught up in our own version, our own ego perspective. And to have this higher self perspective, we need to be balanced in the divine feminine and masculine energies. Once we are balanced in these two energies and we have this higher self perspective, our relationships in this reality will be much more harmonious and balanced. And this in turn will create a harmonious and balanced society. Think about a marriage. A marriage is healthy and thriving when you understand each other's perspectives and can see where each other is coming from. To do this, both partners, independent from gender, must be balanced in both the divine feminine and divine masculine energies. I saw a poll where people said they thought outcome was more important than someone's intention. And I think this is very harmful and a very wrong approach. When we care more about an outcome, it's cutting off understanding others' perspectives and causing society to be out of balance and out of harmony. We should care more about intention and come together to find solutions when outcomes do not align with intentions. We need to be solution oriented when problems arise and not just view an outcome and condemn. Society will excel when we do this and when we pair it with love and compassion. This reality often is not easy for people. Individuals have layers of trauma and insecurities that filter perspectives and reactions. We need to heal ourselves, heal our nervous system so we are fully in control of our emotions, and take the higher self perspective. Once we do that, we can help heal others and be the example of change we want to see in the world. In the meantime, give others grace. And I mention this often, but this doesn't mean abandon your boundaries. You can have strong boundaries, but still send someone love and compassion. Remember that your energy has a domino effect, so make it a domino effect of love, compassion, and gratitude. So now I'll talk a little bit about different attributes of the divine feminine and divine masculine energies. Some divine feminine qualities are intuition, creativity, compassion, emotional depth, nurturing, receptivity. And then some divine masculine qualities are action, strength, logic, protection, assertiveness, and stability. So, as you can see, as I read these energies really complement each other. They create a really important dynamic, and it creates a sense of wholeness and completeness in individuals, relationships, society, and the collective consciousness. This is absolutely essential and the key to having a balanced and harmonious existence. The global elite have hijacked this balance. They have suppressed the divine feminine energies and manipulated the divine masculine in toxic ways. We are in a really important time of reclaiming both the divine feminine and the divine masculine energies. And one important step in this is to stop blaming and vilifying men. This seems like a trendy thing to do these days. This is just another agenda bullet point of the global elite, and we need to stop falling for their disgusting narrative. Men are not the problem at all, and we really need to realize that. It's crazy to just not do any self work or any self examination and just blame another gender. That's so wild and off base. It's just not okay. Like I mentioned, balancing the divine feminine and masculine energies in ourselves will help us step back from the ego self and into a higher self perspective and be able to see things, problem solutions, ideas from a bird's eye view. Until you do this, you risk being in the sheep herd of the global elite. Until you wake up to this, it's almost like wolves pulled over your eyes and you're just going along with whatever narrative they're sharing. Once you exit the herd of sheeple and have a higher self perspective, you won't hate men, put men down, or vilify any group or gender. You also will become aware if you are aligning and expressing yourself in ways of toxic masculinity. It's not just the hating and vilifying of men that's wrong. It's also the people, male or female, who do act in these toxic ways that align with this idea of toxic masculinity. It takes all of us becoming self aware and taking the higher perspective. We must get outside of ourselves and release the ego. And of course, there's also toxic femininity. But when we view it on an overall level, our society has gotten where it is today because of the imbalance of the toxic masculine energies. In our journey of self exploration, we really need to be honest about ourselves and be very self aware and see where we're acting in toxic ways. We we can't point fingers at others. We really need to do the work within. And then once we do this work, let's listen, embrace love, and really be compassionate towards each other. If you hate or you find a flaw in the opposite gender or another person in general, stop and review yourself. What energy are you putting out that attracts that energy of another person? Like attracts like. That's how the quantum physics of this reality works. We need to be self aware and never view yourself as a victim ever. And if you're in a war-torn area or your area gets hit with a natural disaster, I am absolutely not saying your energy attracted that. Things happen on an archetypal collective level and an individual level. And yes, we have part of creating both of those realities, but as you can imagine, the collective consciousness, all of us together is what creates that collective level. But like I talk about a lot, I talk about the fourth dimension, how it's a non-physical dimension that is archetypes, myths in the collective mind, and there's thought forms there. The global elite has hijacked that and they use it to run their programs of control. So, in no way am I saying when bad things happen on a collective level that affect you, I'm not saying you created that at all. There's some nuance to this, as you can imagine. But we're definitely in the works of taking that power back. But even with the global elite hijacking and using the fourth dimension to run their programs and their thought forms, we still should never view ourselves as victims. And if you listen to my podcast a lot in the different episodes, I talk a lot about how they actually have no power. We're the ones with the power. We're the divine beings. So we definitely should not be victims. We need to wake up to our power and wake up to how we really do create this reality and take it back. And remember that the emotions that we have create our individual reality as well. So even in chaos, and if chaos is going on around us, if we can remain level headed, keep a clear head and a positive mind, then we can keep projecting positive and high vibration emotions that pull into our reality. Because you can be living with hell and chaos all around you, but you can still be happy. I know this might sound crazy, but if we're really, really honest with ourselves and we look back to our past, don't put any emotion towards it, just look back as an observer and you look at some different situations, you might be able to see where, okay, you had more of an impact, you had more of a role in that than you once thought. I know there's situations where I look back where old version of me would say, wow, why'd that happen? I have no idea why that happened to me. I had nothing to do with that. And now when I look back with this new perspective, I don't know if you want to call it a higher self perspective. Now I can look back at different situations and say, okay, being truly honest with myself, I see how I got into that situation or how I actually played a role in that, where maybe in the past I would have never made that connection. And it's not even that I wasn't honest with myself in the past, but once you clear your head and you do take this higher self perspective, you see things in a more clear light. You're not down on that ego level where you're just caught up in yourself and your own perspective. You can really just see things through a new lens. And it's really, really important to really be self aware and really be honest with yourself and how you might have played a role or gotten yourself into a situation. We never ever should be victims. You don't need a tiny emotion to it though. You can truly just look back and be the observer and be honest with yourself and then let it go. Don't dwell on it. Don't beat yourself up about it. I really think once you have this higher self perspective, you won't beat yourself up about it like you used to. That's how I am. There's certain things that I would wake up and think about at night and just cringe. And I was like not proud of it. But I really think that's when I was caught up in the ego self. Now that I'm out of that, and I definitely feel like I can view things from a higher perspective, from that higher self point of view, I don't dwell and cringe at myself anymore. I give myself love and understand that was a previous version of myself. And you can be compassionate and say, I understand why you did that, though. I understand what got you there. It's okay. I forgive you. I love you. And just learn from it. That's really all you need to do. Don't beat yourself up on it or don't dwell on it. That's not what I mean when I say be really self aware. Don't feel guilt about it. Don't beat yourself up. Give yourself love and compassion and understanding, and then let it go and move on. Just never beat yourself up about something. This is not a journey of perfection. You're going to stumble, you're going to make mistakes, but give yourself love and grace. Forgive who you need to forgive. Forgive yourself. Learn from it. Truly learn from it where you can gain perspective and lessons and take something good out of the situation and then let it go and move on. It's all okay. Give yourself grace and give others grace as well. Okay, but back to the divine feminine. The reawakening of the divine feminine is about honoring and getting back in touch with intuition, wisdom, and nurturing qualities that have been suppressed or undervalued. The mass spiritual awakening the collective is going through currently is the reawakening of the divine feminine. This will help us see and know truth and help us see past the programming and lies the global elite has been putting out. The reclamation of the divine masculine involves nurturing healthy and balanced expressions of strength, protection, and assertiveness that are aligned with compassion and respect for all beings and all life. The global elite has relied on promoting toxic versions of strength, protection, and assertiveness to carry out their agenda of war, which is a huge moneymaker for them and a way to money launder and steal our tax dollars. War also creates fear and other low frequency emotions, and these low level emotions are how they keep us in control. Wars also create mass trauma, and trauma dysregulates our nervous systems, keeps us in fight or flight, and causes us not to be able to properly regulate our emotional responses. Our emotions are what create our reality. Causing trauma and keeping us in trauma states is a huge way they control us. So we really need to do the work to uncover hidden trauma, get to the root of trauma we may have, and really clear it and get it out of our body. It's so, so important. It's absolutely wild to me when you hear in the news or mainstream media them talk about how Gen Z is horrible, how they just don't remember war. War has not affected them in this life. They just don't understand it. It's like, hello, good. That's a great thing. They don't have all this trauma from war that is causing them to be in fight or flight, be super emotional, and not think clearly. That is a good thing. It's wild to me, absolutely wild, that they use that as a example of why we shouldn't listen to Gen Z about war and peace and their perspective. It is wild. We really should be listening to the younger generations. They have a really, really important voice. But think about war and trauma and how I talked about the global elite run the fourth dimension, which is the dimension of archetypes, myths, thought forms, the collective mind. And how I talk about they have no power. They can't create their own reality like us. So they have to manipulate and control us in ways that we'll latch onto and unknowingly create our own reality. So think about it. They put out images, videos, and narratives of war on mainstream media. And if we latch onto that and put emotion around that, we can unknowingly create that in our reality. It manifests that idea they're putting out in front of us. And they know how this works, and they know they have no power. We do. So they must manipulate us emotionally to put out emotions that will create the thought forms they're trying to manifest. It's crazy, but that's how it works. We really need to wake up to this so we are fully in control of our emotions. Think about when this whole Palestine versus Hamas war started playing over the mainstream media. I remember people I love watching this and just showing so much emotion, like, oh my gosh, can you believe this? Da da da. They're terrorists. Blah blah blah. It's like, oh my gosh, this response is exactly what they want. I mean, that is exactly what the global elite want. That is exactly the response. So we really need to be careful to not react like that. If something is trying to pull fear, guilt, sadness from us, we really need to teach our body to shut down, just not put out any emotion towards that. Just be stoic. Keep all your emotion to yourself and critically think. Because when you start putting out that emotion, and you start getting fearful or angry, it's really, really hard to think logically. We need to really become absolute masters at our emotions. And this is why it's so important we regulate our nervous systems and clear our traumas and our insecurities, because we must have a regulated nervous system to be masters of our emotion. And to regulate our nervous systems, we need to get to the root of our traumas and clear it from our bodies. When we have a regulated nervous system, we won't automatically go into that fight or flight response. We can be more stoic, stand back, and not just put out emotions. We can keep a clear head, keep our logic, and think, wow, they're really putting out this narrative that it's so clear they want a big response from. If someone or some news outlet or a TV show or a song, anything, friends, family, literally anyone, mainstream media, anyone, if they're putting out a narrative that is clearly trying to solicit a negative emotion out of you, any negative emotion, fear, guilt, sadness, red flag. Red flag, cut off your emotion, step back, and think, wow, why are they trying to do this? I talk about it a lot, but guilt is the basis of manipulation. That's just one example of how people can use these negative emotions to get what they want. And we need to be sovereign and fully in control of ourselves. And the first step is regulating our nervous system so we are absolute masters of our emotions. From there, we can fully regain control of ourselves on an individual level. And then, as more people do this and we share this information and we create a domino effect, then everyone starts to do this. And then it's changing our collective consciousness. And then it's regaining control of the fourth dimension. And then we will not be sheep and we will not fall prey to these thought forms and this programming that the global elite is trying to put out so we latch onto and then create it in our reality. We just need to wake up to all of this. And basically, what this episode really was about in summary is we also want to wake up to how important the divine feminine and the divine masculine energies are for us individually, for relationships, for society, and then on a whole collective level. It is literally so important. And when we are balanced in ourselves, we can bring the best version of ourselves, the most harmonious, the most balanced and loving and logical, but also we can bring the best version of ourselves to our relationships, whether that's a partnership, a marriage, a friendship, family relationships, every relationship, once we're balanced individually, we can bring that to the relationship and have a very harmonious and balanced relationship with others. Also, like I mentioned, it's all related, it's all a domino effect. So once we bring our best self and everyone else is working on their best self, we bring that to society, into our relationships, and then that becomes a harmonious and balanced society. And this is what we need to rebuild our society and our world in a way that is fully balanced and harmonious. And this is the ideal. It starts with us, it starts with the individual. Be the change you want to see in the world, truly. Work on yourself, balance your divine feminine and divine masculine energies, and bring that to every relationship in your life. And share this knowledge with others so they do this too and have a domino effect. It'll be so, so beautiful. And it really just seems like in society, this global elite is really trying to push agendas that really disharmonize the masculine and feminine energies, like in every aspect, from the micro of the individual to the macro level of relationships, and even just a very, very big level of a toxic masculine energy really dominating our globe and the society. And they do that for a purpose, like I mentioned. So we really just need to wake up to all of this and really understand all of the energetics behind how everything is set up. And we really need to question everything and realize everything is connected. I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope it was helpful and maybe you learned something new. If you liked this episode and found it useful, please share it with your friends and your family. I'm a new podcast and I really just want to share this information and help others. I really want to see everyone be the best version of themselves in a way that has a domino effect and creates the best version of society. I really do love everyone, and I really try to go about my life understanding where people are coming from. Maybe when they do something negative, even, I try to be empathetic and compassionate and understand why they got there. And I think this viewpoint has really helped me in my life so far. So it would be great if other people started thinking this way too. And this goes back to what I talked about in the episode about how we really need to care more about people's intentions than the outcome. And we don't have to stop with that. We can be solution oriented, and if an unintended outcome came from it, we can just work together, be compassionate, and be solution oriented and make change. We really just need to be more loving, more compassionate, and live a life from those perspectives and those emotions. People can absolutely change and people can have huge perspective shifts. It only takes little things like balancing your divine feminine and your divine masculine energies. You don't have to go to years of therapy or anything like that. It's simple little tweaks. So take some time to rebalance yourself, heal your nervous system, give yourself love and compassion, and talk to yourself kindly. All of those things will have a much bigger impact than you realize. But I love you all, and I hope it helped. Truly, 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 truly. But have a great week. You can find me on TikTok, and if you like this, I already mentioned send to a friend, send to some family. But if you do that, you have no idea how much it would mean to me. Also, you can subscribe so you can hear me every week. I love you all. Have a great week and have a great day.